Hey, Life in a Wine Bottle fans. This is your host, Nelson Pizarro, and you're listening to part two with Matt Kettmann, the wine critic. In this episode, we'll discuss how we connected, why are wine critics so important, and his favorite part of being a wine critic. Also, if you've been enjoying listening to my podcast, I would love for you to give us 5-star review. This will help us in our rankings so that more people will get to know and love Life in a Wine Bottle like you guys. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and like us on Facebook and Instagram at Life in a Wine Bottle. Enjoy part two. Are you big into
So, I mean,
Twitter or Instagram?
I kind of link my Twitter to my Instagram account, so it will feed there, but I don't do a lot of just Twitter. I've never really fully understood Twitter as a tweeter. Like I understand it as a news gatherer. It's a good spot to go, especially for emergency situations. You get a lot of raw
Quick message.
information. Um, but I've never been very good at using it. I'm much better on Facebook and Instagram, that sort of stuff. Facebook I use to promote like articles I've written. Instagram is more just kind of lifestyle stuff and like promoting brands that I just happen to be drinking that day or whatever. So
Nice. So I don't know if you know or remember, but I actually sent in, I think it was a Sangiovese, and this was probably last year or a little bit over last year. And the way not like we connected, but I found out about you guys was through a good friend of mine that showed me how to make wine. His name is Joe from Scaredy Cat Ranch, and he
mhm.
said, "Hey Nelson, just to do your work, because the process to send stuff to you isn't as easy. It takes time. Everything is a
No,
process, right? So he's like, just fill out the paperwork, get a bottle that you think is gonna score well, and then just go send it and see. Hopefully, you get some feedback.
yeah,
So I
and it's
was super
free. It's
excited.
free, and we review everything that's submitted. I think we're the only publication that pledges to review everything that's submitted. So
Yeah, so I'm
um,
telling this to the listeners and the viewers that we sent it out, and I got a response. Obviously, the process is long based on what you do. You have
yeah.
there's a lot of wines, and you're not gonna get a quick reply. They're gonna take their time. You're gonna take your time, and since we're in the Southern California area, you're taking care of. How high do you go to Napa, or what's your?
So I do technically the Central Coast and the South Coast AVA.
Okay.
So I do basically from the border to Santa Barbara, and then from Santa Barbara north to essentially the Southern Bay Area, Santa Cruz Mountains, Santa Clara Valley, and oddly, the Central Coast AVA actually includes Livermore, but we kind of cut it off there for me. And so then we have an editor who does one editor does Napa and Sonoma. That's her entire beat, which is like the most wines out of anybody.
Yeah.
And then another guy does everything else. So he does, Lodi, Lake County, Mendocino County, and then, Humboldt, everything. And then he also does the California appellated wine. So
Oh,
if your
nice.
wine, and there's a little bit of confusion there sometimes because and there's a little overlap. Sometimes I'll do the California wines if it's very clear that they are from Paso Robles or whatever. So some people just for style purposes will use California as the appellation,
Uh,
um, even if it's all from you know Paso Robles or Santa Barbara or whatever. That's pretty rare. Usually the California appellation means that usually it means that the wines came from the Central Valley somewhere and were grown on the massive vineyards. Or it just means that you're getting grapes from all over the place and putting them in the same bottle. And so you can't call a county, you can't call a specific appellation, so you go for California. So
okay.
that's Jim stuff. So a lot of those like grocery store wines, you see a lot of those red blends that are really popular. A lot of those are California appellated wines, so that goes to
Okay.
somebody else. So
Oh, interesting.
um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't know
and the
that.
way I taste is essentially first come, first serve. There's not an order. The magazine is running California reviews all the time,
Correct.
so it's not like there's some regions where there's like a focused month, and you're supposed to get your submission. So every once in a while, I'll get a submission that says, "Oh, we're trying to get in for your June 5th issue," and I'm like, I don't even know what the issue is. I just taste as they come. So And I would say in the last, I can't remember when you sent yours in, but in the last, there was a long time there where it would take months for me to get to things. Because once I get to them, then it takes about another month for the magazine to reach back out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm to the point where I've got such a routine that I'm tasting pretty much wines. White wines are tasted, I would say, within a couple weeks of submission, and then it takes a few more weeks for the magazine to get back to you. And then the reds are mostly within a month, I'd say. Now there was a point where it was like within 3 months because I just had so much backlog, and
Wow.
I don't know what I did differently, but I somehow maybe I just got the hang of it,
Yeah. You got a
and
good
it's much
system
more
going.
process. I have a system going that works. So yeah, so it's a little quicker now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, when we send it, so just to tell, like, if anybody has a winery and they want to send it to you guys, you actually fill out a form. You tell them the region, the type of wine, the year, then you just ship the box.
Yeah.
Is it 4 bottles or 2 bottles?
Usually 2 bottles of
Two
each
bottles.
wine is what we request. Some people send one. It's not that big of a deal, but sometimes a one will be corked, and then you're like, hey, I'm
Correct.
not scoring your wine because the one
That's
bottle you
way
sent
off.
was flawed. So 2 bottles is good. 2 bottles is also good because, especially if I really like the wine, that second bottle that I have might wind up being poured in front of other interesting wine people,
Mhm.
friends of mine who are also writers or other winemakers or wine buyers. So sometimes that second bottle actually can help out in
Yeah,
other ways.
yeah, promote
Or
it.
it
Yeah.
shows up on my Instagram, because I'm like, oh, I opened this. And especially with time too. So I sit on, I actually pay my assistants in wine. So that's where a lot of the bottles go. I donate a lot of wine to various causes. And then I save, bottles that I'm particularly fond of. And so I have, bottles all over the place. And those will get pulled out, sometimes years later, and it'll be pretty awesome because you're like, oh, like I was just drinking a 2012 Pinot from Solomon Hills Vineyard the other day. I put that on Instagram. I was like, hey, this wine's firing right now. So
Wow.
there's some strategy in the second bottle, I guess, too.
Yeah, that's excellent advice for anybody thinking of sending in the wines, because
Yeah.
obviously it can help. It does help you. Um, so yeah, that whole process. I just want the listeners to know that we don't know each other. I just literally sent bottles to you. You scored it, and then I happen to create a podcast, and I just reached
Mhm.
out to you. There's nothing else. There's no exchange of wine, no money. I just said that. You're like, sure, it sounds like a great idea. And you can kind of see the love and passion that you have for it. So I always like to share that in the stories because I feel like a lot of times there's some type of kickback and here it's all, I just want to be as natural and as real as possible with the wine world. Why do you think the wine critics and wine reviews are so important for everybody? What's your personal opinion on that?
I mean, there's a few good things about it. I mean, um, we help people understand and have an anticipation of wines, especially if you get to know a particular critic and you understand their palate. I mean, it's kind of like a movie reviewer. There are movie reviewers who you always agree with, and you can bank your kind of opinion on what they think. And then there's ones that you don't agree with, or that they don't like certain things, but that you do. So you can form your own opinion based on the consistency of a critic. So if you don't like, that I am a huge fan of Cool Climate Syrahs, and you see me give one a big score, that's like, and you're into those, go for it. If you're not into those, you can realize that, hey, even though you disagree with my opinion, that my opinion is consistent. So you can make your decision counter to mine, as
Mhm.
well. So there's that. I mean, the other thing that I think is important is that that part of the job, the tasting part of the job, is a steady income for someone like me, uh, who then is also spending a lot of time just getting out in the field, talking to winemakers, learning about wine, learning about vineyards, learning about places, and then also writing other stories based on those experiences. Um, so even if you don't like, some people just don't like their wines being scored for whatever reason, that's fine.
Mhm.
um, but if you're not consistently sending me wines, you're also not really on my radar either, right? So when I'm going to go write an article about Gamay Noir, for instance, when I go to my notes to see, which wineries have I scored that I really like their Gamay, I'm going to probably base the article on the wineries that I'm familiar with, that I taste consistently. And if you're not submitting, then I'm not going to, it's not that I dislike you or anything. It's just like, as a practical measure, I'm not going to think of you offhand.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. So there's a consistency. And then it also keeps me, employed, and paid, to do that. So there's a lot of work that I do that really isn't compensated, in the sense of, like, I get paid basically by articles I write and by reviews that I write. But there's a lot of work I do just visiting places that's not otherwise compensated. So by having a steady income as a critic, you have some freedom to go do these visits. And then maybe you turn it into a story later. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's just to go learn more about the winery and be able to write your reviews better and think about them down the road. So, we only do, we do a lot of stuff for web and front of the book stuff in the publication. But we only get a handful of features each year, all the editors. There's like, I forget how many, almost 20 editors around the world, and we're all competing for some space in the magazine, and they're trying to balance the coverage of the globe, in a magazine that only runs 12 times a year. So the website's different. Obviously, there's a lot more space there. But there's still budget issues. They can't just assign us all 10 stories a day. They'd go bankrupt. So anyway, so yeah, there's, just for general wine knowledge and general wine publicity of regions and of styles and of trends, the critic aspect, there's a practical part of the critic aspect in which it's income related that enables us to do all the other stuff as well. So
that's huge what you said. Just on your the more you taste a certain wine from a certain vineyard, it gets you turned on to that area and kind of saying, hey, what's going on over there?
Right.
Especially if it's doing really well. You're like, hey, they're doing something special there. We need to check out why are they so special? And I believe here, and obviously I'm promoting our area, Ramona, the RVVA, we're just starting off getting to that point to getting wines out there. There's vineyards here that are 10-year-olds, going on to 15-year-olds. So now you're starting to get a little more complex on the grape. We're learning more. We have our meetings. Everybody's trying to work together. Obviously, there's some challenges here and there for everyone with vineyards. But at the end of the day, it's a small region where everybody's tiny. You're kind of outside your backyard. Literally almost everybody's their house, and then their tasting room is the garage or something.
Right.
So, and they're making it work. So this is a huge advice. So for the listeners, please, if you have a great wine that you think it's great, try it. What's the worst case what's the worst that's can happen? They say no, it's not good, or you get a score that's 80s.
And that's what I've always said too, is like, there's pretty, if you look at life in a risk reward situation, there's pretty low risk to submitting, because it's not like we do a lot of promotion of wines that score lowly. They go on the website. Sometimes they go in print, often not. They often just go on the website, and then it's kind of up to each individual winery to take that score and promote it or not. So if you get a low score, it almost just disappears. If no one's calling it out, unless it becomes like part of a controversial thing, most people are not even going to see it. So, and then the potential to getting if you get a high score, it can help you sell quite a bit of wine. I've heard sometimes scores I get, people are like, oh, thank you, we sold out, of thousands of cases immediately. It's like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, if you get a low score, it kind of disappears.
I mean, for us, we had a 86, and I didn't think anything wrong with it. I sent it to my email list. I sent it on my social media, and we probably sold within that kind of week or so, or 2 weeks, I would say like 25% more than we usually. So all I care is selling it and making sure the wine is good and the people enjoy it. So
and it gives you a baseline from which to judge at least against my palate, judge your forthcoming vintages, right? So if you see them consistently getting better, you're like, oh, we're in the, according to Matt's palate, at least we're in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And that's great. And I always tell people, hey, everybody has their own palate.
yeah,
It doesn't matter. Someone will say, "Oh, this is amazing," and someone will say, "This is it's okay." So
yeah,
it's and also the mood that you're in.
yeah,
Obviously, for you, this is your job, there's your profession. But most people, if that you come to a winery, you're most likely having a good time. You know,
yeah. I mean, wines almost always taste better at a place,
correct.
at
Social
a
studies, not
vineyard.
by yourself. And okay, I'll
Yeah.
just have a glass of wine. So that's pretty funny to say. But yeah, that's the typical there. What about how many did you say you taste a day? How many wines do you blind
So I
taste
do.
roughly?
I typically do on average, I would say about a dozen a day. Some days I'll do 20 something. Some days I'll do none. So I would say on average about a dozen. Um, and so I've been doing for the last 3 months. I've been doing more than 300 wines a month, which was a pretty big increase from I was usually doing around 200 wines a month, and then during the quarantine, it's been basically 300 plus for the last 3 months. So,
Oh.
um,
And are you getting like a second opinion from your wife or from your assistants, or is it just basically
um, yeah, from not as part of the process, but as a general thing, yeah, I ask my wife what she thinks about wine sometimes. I have a lot of friends who like wine, and so I'll ask them what they think. Um, Usually just more casually. Sometimes I'll be like, "Hey, what do you think about that one?" Just like, am I? Yeah. So there's some level of kind of trying to balance to understand what other people think about it too.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And then what will you say the favorite part of being a wine critic? Obviously, besides tasting thousands of wines,
Yeah.
is there anything else besides that?
I mean, really, when I was offered the job and was like slightly reluctant to, I mean, there was never any part of me that was going to say no, but I was slightly reluctant to kind of take on this role and become a critic because, I have kind of mixed feelings about the whole process anyway, and making that a large part of my life was, there was some daunting aspects to that. But what I realized immediately was that the job would give me basically a calling card to go to anywhere I wanted to across California, more or less, and have doors open for me just because of the role that I had. So, because, and that's what I mean, my favorite thing to do is to drive into the middle of nowhere and drive down some dead end road and wind up at some cool ranch, right? Or some cool vineyard. And then be able to be
Great.
invited in and learn about the history of the place, learn about the people. And, I've always been mostly fascinated by people and places more so than, what's in the bottle even. So that's the best part of the job is being paid to go hang out in cool places with interesting people. So,
Yeah, that sounds
that's,
like a lot of fun.
yeah.
I'm
And it's,
kind of in the same as yourself. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, well, and that's what a lot of, I think, wine people are interested in is traveling, and using their jobs as an excuse to taste wines from around the world, to visit other interesting parts of the wine world and connect with the history and connect with the geography and all the kind of interesting natural stuff that's going on too. So, you know, we can't all just go frolic in nature all the time. We have to have some income generation, and so a lot of the people I know in the wine business seem to be interested because of those same things, meeting cool people and going to cool places. So
Yeah, yeah, and it helps, when you go back and you're able to tell a great story,
exactly, yeah.
afterwards.
And
So
nothing. I mean, there's hardly any products on the planet that really literally translate a place into a sensory experience, right? So
Mhm.
wine does that, and because of that, it can talk to people all around the world in different ways and represent all parts of the world differently.
Yeah, nice. That sounds like a lot of fun. I do it in a smaller scale. I try not to when we go to wineries. Try different wineries in our area. I really try not to say that I make wine because then it opens up a different avenue,
Yeah,
right? And then
yeah,
they're kind of okay, try this one or try this, and you start going, which is fine, but it's more of I always like to kind of see how they are, how do people act, the what can I do if I see something that they're selling or the wine taster just giving out and the way their personalities are like, oh, that seems like a great idea. I would like to bring it back to our winery, you know? So
Right.
it makes total sense what you're saying and how you're able to describe a wine based on what you saw in the vineyard and in their cellar.
Right.
Is
Right.
there any advice that you'll give for winemakers when you're submitting? Is there anything out there? Or just submit?
No, I mean, you're always welcome to send more information. Yeah, because I will read it. I mean, it doesn't really affect the review that much, but sometimes when you send more information, I uh, I will read it and I will have a little bit more of the backstory, which can be helpful. Um, but yeah, other than that, no. I mean, submit often because that's the best way to know what I'm thinking, and it's free. Other than the cost it takes for you to send it. We do come back, as you know, and we'll try to sell you. Our sales team will reach out and see if you wanted to buy a label placement or whatever, which is something that helps pay my salary. But the actual whole process to get reviewed is completely independent of that and totally free. So I think that's why I've been getting so many submissions in the last couple of months, because it's kind of a passive way to have attention for your wine. And like I said, if you get a bad score or a score you don't agree with, you don't really have to do anything, and it kind of vanishes.
Yeah,
And
that's
if you get a
it.
score you really like, you can totally promote it. So
Yep. Perfect. Is there any wine that you recommend now that you've been tasting that you're saying if you're allowed to? I don't know if that's promoting or not, but is there anything?
yeah, no, I mean, I've liked a lot of I've been big into, and especially the summer, like kind of lighter chillable red wines is a really fun kind of trend that we see a lot of on the Central Coast, particularly. But there's some out of San Diego area. Some of the kind of more natural wine leaning places will make these kind of lighter, fresh reds, which I think are fun because you can drink them in the sunshine, and you can even put an ice cube in them.
Yeah.
God forbid, but you can do that.
Yeah, a chilled red. Yeah, we have actually a Pinot that we got from San Luis Obispo,
Hmm.
and we have another one that was a 2018, and then we have a 2017 that was grown here, that we actually grow here, and it's a big Pinot.
Yeah,
It's huge just because of the weather. It's hot
yeah,
up
it's
in San
warmer.
Diego.
Yeah,
So, and I always tell people, I'm like, this one you can probably chill it. The 2018. This one is you eat it with some food, a good
eat
piece of
some
meat.
steak. Yeah,
Yeah, and you're
yeah,
gonna see, and they're just like, it's just amazing how that little bit of advice can sell, because they'll come back and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have it in the summertime, and we have a summer party or barbecue coming up, and I hope that all this changes soon, and we're gonna have friends over, so they're gonna buy that for that. So it's really nice to do that, to have two separate things and having fun with it.
yeah.
Um,
Those counterpoints. Yeah.
always do a little game. It's called the spit wine game. Okay,
Okay.
5 seconds to answer a question. Whatever comes up to your mind. It's only wine though. So
Okay.
it's not history, it's not math. It's real quick. Just 5 little questions. Real simple. All right. Are
Okay.
you ready?
Yeah. I'm ready.
First one. Red or white?
Red.
Favorite varietal?
Syrah.
Favorite food to pair with the Syrah?
Sausage.
Sausage. Okay. One wine region that you can go. Where can it be? Where will you go?
One in the world?
Yep.
Like forever or just for next time?
Forever. I know you're gonna say Ramona, but I just marked that out so you can give me another one.
Oh, I'd probably say Santa Barbara, where I live.
Okay, nice. Wait, they make some great wines out there. And
Yeah.
last one, and this might be a little bit complicated. Last bottle you opened.
The, uh, I opened a lot of wines yesterday, but I think the last one I opened was a Stolo San Luis Obispo County Gewürztraminer, actually.
Okay,
Probably 2019.
that's pretty good memory then.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wine. Sweet. Anything closing? Do you want to add your Instagram account? For the
At Matt Kettmann, MattKettmann.
And you mentioned a book that you're writing. Is there? You want
Oh
to,
yeah,
yeah.
you can go to vinesandvisionsb.com and pre-order copies of a book I'm doing with a photographer. It's called Vines and Vision, the winemakers of Santa Barbara County. It's grown into a pretty massive project with more than 600 pages and thousands of new
Wow.
photos, and I've probably written 150,000 words. So it's a bit of a beast, but I have less than 20 chapters to go out of 115 plus, and I can do typically 1 to 3 a day. So we're in the last few weeks of finalizing that, and it will be out this fall. So
Wow.
check that out.
Okay. So you don't have a Twitter or anything or Instagram or anything like that
For
yet?
that, no, we should. We kind of are, it's a basically, I'm working, the photographer I'm working with owns a publishing company. But it's more or less just bootstrapped and the two of us doing it. So
Nice.
we have not gotten, all the advice I give to wineries when they ask me what they should be doing, how to publicize themselves. I have not been following that myself. I know what
No,
to do.
you're
I just
busy.
haven't had time to
No,
do
no,
it.
you're super busy. And I think people forget that, life catches up to you, and it isn't a quick. If you don't have the masses, as in, you can designate somebody to do this project and then another to this one. It won't. It's extremely hard to make it happen. So Vines and Vision, correct?
Yeah, vinesandvisionsb.com. Yeah.
B.com. Okay. When I do the Instagram stuff, I'll make sure I'll put that on there, like a hashtag or something, so we can help promote some of that stuff. All right,
Cool.
that's it. This is Nelson Pizarro with Life in a Wine Bottle. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, and like us and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Life in a Wine Bottle. Thank you, Matt, for all you do. I look
Thank
forward
you,
to
man.
sending you some more wines now that I got some great advice. So I'm going to push it a little bit more, and hopefully I can do it maybe every quarter.
Cool. Great. I look forward to them.
All right. So thank
Okay.
you very much. I'll look forward to speaking with you, and let us know if you're ever coming down in this area.
Okay, I will.
Have a good one,
See you
Matt.
later.
Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Bye, Nelson.
Thank you to everyone for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something new about being a wine critic and what to expect. Quick shout out to our sponsor at Castelli Family Vineyards. Thank you again for Matt Kettmann with Wine Enthusiast magazine. Don't forget to check out his new book, vinesandvisionsb.com. It'll come out in fall. Our next episode will be called Should I Plant a Vineyard? I'll have our guest speaker Ron Putman, and you don't want to miss what advice I gave him. Make sure to follow us and like us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our channels, podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play at Life in a Wine Bottle. I'm your host, Nelson Pizarro, and this is Life in a Wine Bottle. Look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks.